Rome. It is the eternal city, the city of love. Between the religious hub Vatican and its history-laden Colosseum and Roman forums, Rome attracts millions of tourists every year. The recommended period for a trip onto Rome is from April, May, and in September, when the temperature is not very high, there is no rain, and the peak season for tourists are not there yet. I decided to visit Rome in late May. The timing was not perfect but doable. I was hoping for it to go well. My visit to Rome was a very enriching experience. So come with me as I go visit Rome. Before we dive into all the Roman stuff, it would be wise to know a little bit more about Rome. Rome is located in the Lazio region of Italy. It serves as a capital of both the country Italy and the Lazio region. The river Tiber runs through the heart of Rome. It is the third longest river in Italy, and it has played a crucial role in the development of Rome city as we know it today. The Vatican City is an independent country geographically located within the city boundaries of Rome, the only existing example of a country within a city. Rome enjoys a Mediterranean climate with cool, humid winters and a warm, dry summer. The time I am going in, the expected temperature should hover around 30 degrees Celsius according to the forecast, so I'm not expecting it to be too hot. Now let's talk a little bit about places to see in Rome. For most tourists, we usually visit the prominent things in a place. If you talk about Rome that way, I now feel that there are three categories. Number one is the Vatican, which is a self-contained city country, if you will. It takes at least one day, if not more. You can literally spend days there. Then we have the historical places in Rome. Rome is incredibly history rich. There are a few prominent things like Colosseum, the Roman forums, the Trevi Fountain, the Spanish Steps, and a few others. If you manage to cover all this, the third category would be natural parks, natural beauty in Rome. I did not touch this part and most tourists don't. So if you are looking for a place to steer clear of the hustle bustle of the city, this option might suit you well. There are quite a few places to go, but I didn't touch any of them. I instead chose to go to Florence. Preparation is of key importance in any kind of trip. For any trip, there are three key things to look for, and there are three additional things. The three key things would be how to go in, where to stay, and how to come back out. The three additional things that are quite important would be cell, data, and money. Because I am in EU, I do not have to worry about the cell, data, and money part. For going in, I am flying to Rome, and for coming also I am flying back. For staying, I have booked the Four Seasons hostel from booking.com online for 6 days, so that has all been sorted out beforehand. Because I am planning to document this trip and I am a photographer, I have to think additional things for taking my gears and taking care of those gears and battery management and all that stuff. Okay, so the plan essentially is to have the GoPro shoot most of the footage. I will be doing still photography with the SLR, but for video documentation I'm mostly relying on the GoPro. Let's see how it goes. I've never done this before, this is my first time. But GoPro is a very mount dependent system. If you can't put it where you want it, it's not gonna do you much good. So that's why I have a assortment of various different mounts. So here we have a clamp mount, we have a suction cup mount. This is for attaching it to glass, so there is a vacuum suction that essentially sticks it to anything. But I'll probably not going to be taking this because I'm not going by car, I don't have one. So this is not really relevant for me right now, so let me set that aside. This is essentially a headgear, so you wear this thing around your head like so, and you attach your camera here, but I'm not going to be taking this because I find it kind of uncomfortable. Obviously you have your monopod, so this is a selfie stick kind of system, but you can use it to lot of use, so I'll definitely be taking this. I expect that a major part of the shooting will be done by this. And there is one more mount that I'm going to take. This is a clip mount, so essentially you clip it to something and it holds. I'll be wearing a bag all the time, so I'll just put it onto the handle of the bag like this, and it will stay there, and that's the plan. GoPro runs out of battery very quickly, so we have a charger with 2 extra batteries. One is in the GoPro, so we have 3 batteries, 1 extra charger. So I think I will be doing good on battery side. And then on the other side of the things, we have our proper photography gear. We have our SLR. This is basically this I am going to be extensively using for still photography. Not a big fan of using this for videography, although it can do decent video, but I'm planning to shoot this one with mostly the GoPro. Battery and charger, flash unit. This is a very cheap flash that I bought and it works. Cable release and a set of filters. Alright, so now we know how to go, where to stay, how to come back. Also, we have figured out what gear to take and how to manage them. So now it's time to pack it all up and head out. Okay, so we have started the journey. I'm starting from work because of the timing. So there is a flight at about 9. So the plan essentially is to catch a bus and then a train. It should take about an hour. And before you know it, we have landed in Rome and on our way to the hostel in a taxi. According to my itinerary, the first day was Vatican. So on the first day, I woke up fairly early and headed off into the city. Okay, so we are in Rome, the first day, and I woke up quite early in the morning. The sun is just coming up now, so I'm headed right now to find money. I need some cash. I had some, but I need some more, so that's the first thing. Then we'll go for breakfast, eat something, and then at 10 we had to be at Vatican City. The terminal station was very close to the hostel, and I went there to move around a bit, and after a while I couldn't find anything suitable, so I just went to the metro station and bought me a 7-day ticket, and I was off to Vatican. So the Vatican is an enclave inside Rome, and it's completely surrounded by walls. It's one of the most secret places in the world, so you can see lots of police and security people here. So we'll just glance past it. I'll get inside it later because the main museum opens at 9. Okay, let's head to Sant'Angelo. I had ticket for the Vatican museums at 10, but I arrived way earlier. I thought that this would be okay because, well, you can always roam around and see the place. Unfortunately, that day, Donald Trump was in the Vatican that morning, and there was additional security measures in the St. Peter's Square, which resulted in a very long congested queue. So I went to the other side and I explored the outside of the St. Peter's Square. I learned later that this is not usually the case, but at that time I thought this is what happens. Anyhow, I wandered around in the St. Peter's Square, the outside. I tried really hard to get a selfie with the selfie stick and GoPro, but it did not turn out very well. And from there, took a walk to the St. Angelo's Castle. Although the castle is just opposite to the St. Peter's Basilica, because I did not know well and there were lots of people around everywhere, it took me a long time to find out where actually it is and get there. Behind me over there is the St. Angelo Castle. It's quite a famous castle. I have planned to go there tomorrow originally. Today I'm here because I arrived way early, as I said earlier. So finally, after going through a bunch of lines and stuff like that, I have arrived to Sant'Angelo. But now the time is 9:17, so don't have enough time to go in there. So we'll head there tomorrow. And right now I'll pack up and head back to the back end of the museum so that I can collect the ticket and get entry. So from St. Angelo's Castle, I started walking towards the Vatican museums. The place is not very far away. It takes about 10-15 minutes by easy walking, and soon I found myself in the spot where the tickets were supposed to be given. I arrived 10 minutes early and found a queue of people waiting for the same reason. We got our tickets, went through the Vatican security check, and there we were asked to wait while the person in charge collects the ticket for us. Just upon entering the Vatican Museum, as explained in this placard, if you take the way of the sea, the harder way, you can see lots of different kinds of boat models. You will also find this placard which says who established the Vatican museums and such, and once you fully come up, you will find yourself here. Here you can see the St. Peter's Basilica behind me. I tried really hard to get a picture of myself, rather unsuccessfully, but the view was really nice. This is the central hub of the Vatican museums. From here, you can go to any part of the museum. You can go to any museum you wish, and you can also go to the cafeteria region to eat something. It takes a lot of time to cover the Vatican museums thoroughly. So you'll often find people here who are just relaxing, chilling out, maybe eating something, and then they'll go to the next part of the museum. The first museum that I chose to go to was the Pinakothek. There are many renowned works of art here from the period of Renaissance or earlier. This painting is by renowned painter Botticelli. This is one of the many paintings by the famous painter Raphael. This painting is by Leonardo da Vinci, and you can see, since the painting is incomplete, one can actually see the pencil strokes that the maestro would first put and then paint over it. This gives an unique insight over the methodology of Leonardo da Vinci's painting, which cannot be found in many of the famous completed pieces. Here are two more famous works by Raphael. And here we find something interesting. This is the work of a less known painter, but he is very famous for painting animals and creatures. Amidst all the different tigers and lions and elephants, we find this funny little creature. It's a very unique creation of the artistic mind. Perhaps the most striking room in all of Pinakothek was room number 8 for me. Here we can find all around the room works of Raphael. Two of the prominent works of Raphael, the Transfiguration and the Madonna of Foligno, can also be found here. Wandering inside this room, I had a sensational experience, and I was thinking, without in-depth appreciation of art and history, Vatican museums is just half the story. To the untrained eye, it all seems the same. The profound nature of all the artworks that are stored here is lost to the common folk such as me. So I told myself, the next time I go to an art museum, I'll take some form of guide, and any form of guide goes a long way to solve such problem. Outside the Pinakothek, you can find the spiral staircase, also called the Bramante staircase. This is a double helical staircase which is beautiful by its design. This was built by Giuseppe Momo in 1932. Now, isn't this a sight for the sore eyes? Top down or bottom up, this thing looks marvelous. Excellent piece of architecture. But there is a problem. Because you can actually walk down this staircase, photographing this is a bit of a challenge because there are always people walking down the stairs. So I thought to employ a technique that I knew. For this to work, you have to keep the camera relatively steady and shoot many frames of the same thing. Then in post, you can actually figure out the pixels that are moving and subtract those out, if you will. Statistically, this is median of all the frames, and the people in the staircase just disappear. I am also taking sort of a siesta. I've taken a break because now it's midday and the light is very direct and bland. It doesn't produce a lot of interest and contrast. So, and also it's very hot. It's quite hot. It's not very hot by Indian standards, but it's still hot. I have come back to the hotel and I'll just be taking a little bit of rest, and then we'll be heading back around 4:35, let's say. And so the sundown is at 8:30. So we should have three and a half hours of sunlight, and that should be more than sufficient. So that's the plan. So we'll go to the basilica at around 5, shoot there until say 7:30 maximum, and then get out of there. Go to the location from where you can take a picture of basilica and the river combined. It's usually a twilight shot. So that's where I'm going to be heading at the twilight today. I'm doing it today because I don't know that I'll do it in one shot. So if I somehow don't like it, then I can go back and redo it. That's why I'm going to attempt it first time today. Let's see how it goes. My original intention was to catch a metro and directly go to the basilica. You only come up with a plan to start shooting there. But unfortunately, the metro stopped halfway through, and we had to get down. So everyone got down. So there I was. I still don't know why. But everyone started walking, and so do I. We got down at the Spanish Steps, and from there we have to walk to the basilica, which is about 3 kilometers. Not too far, but yeah, it takes about 15-20 minutes. So started walking, and on the way you can see this, which is an unexpected find, but I'm glad I did find it. This is the Supreme Court of Rome. The building was built in the early 1900s. Construction began late 1800s and it was finished in 1910 and opened at 1910. I was not expecting to come across this, but I'm glad I did. In front of this place is a bridge over the river Tiber, and from here you can shoot the basilica for a magnificent view. But it was not yet time, so I moved on. You can find lots of street performances going on in front of the basilica and the St. Angelo's Castle. Walking towards the basilica, I found this woman playing harp. Then I went to a ice cream shop to buy ice cream, which is called gelato. And everyone who comes to Italy must try Italian ice cream. And so I did here. Slowly I came to the St. Peter's Square, and at this time of the evening it was absolutely magnificent. There was not many people, it was fairly empty, and the place was very quiet, very peaceful, very serene. Not like if you come here during the morning or in the afternoon especially, you'll find lots of people, but in the evening after the basilica has closed down and everything, you can have this place for yourself basically. And if you come here in this time, I can promise you will have a great time. Also, I found this bird who was trying to eat this pizza and having a hard time with it. Poor guy. Asked someone to take my customary portrait, which is a mandatory thing, of course. There's some nice clouds in the sky, and here's a shot without any filter. And here is the same shot with a circular polarizer filter. Notice the difference. Found this nice couple from Bangalore who were also visiting Rome. And then it was time to head back to the spot to do some twilight shooting. I was noticing some clouds in the sky before, but when I reached the spot, I knew it's going to be very good, and lots of other photographers also knew. I saw at least 10 or 12 photographers with long lenses all gathered up and tripoded up and started shooting. And as the light slowly started to wane, beautiful colors slowly started to emerge, and the lights on the basilica and the bridges came on. And then we had this, which is by far the best frame in all of Rome. Have to admit that I got a bit lucky, but that's part of photography. The clouds are the real hero of this shot. Without the clouds, such color would never have come. I'm planning to print this and hang it on my wall at my home sometime. I was here until 10:30 in the night and shooting some time lapses and things like that, and then took a bus to go back to the hostel. Story of our day 2 begins with these two people we met at the hostel that I was staying. Jason is from US and Sahaj is from Canada, and we decided to walk together and do our little Rome trip. The first thing is to something to eat, so we started walking and found this nice place and ordered some pies and Italian coffee. Obviously that's a must. So the food was good, and the place we chose apparently was one of the best bakeries there, so it was pretty good. So after we had our breakfast, we headed towards Colosseum, and here is the first view of Colosseum that we got. It's a pretty extraordinary view, I would say, when you first look at it. The grand scale of it kind of dawns on you, and we slowly walk towards it, and here is the first shot of the day. Customary jumping picture in front of Colosseum, of course. And then we waited in this long line to get the ticket. We had our ticket online pre-booked, but still there is some security checks and things like that. And after that we were inside Colosseum. So this is inside Colosseum, and we're just walking by and found this half decent spot to where you can look over the fence and actually get a nice view. So this is the central part of Colosseum. So the where you see people now are actually the place where the arena is, and this is where the battles and everything used to take place, and you can actually see the labyrinth below that, and this is something I did not know and did not really expect. I am no history expert, but this was completely new and unexpected. So beneath where all the fighting used to happen, there is this labyrinth. Here are some portraits of each one of us. Here is Sahaj, taken by me. Here is me, taken by Sahaj. And finally here is Jason. The sun wasn't quite up yet, so we weren't getting very good lighting. You can find these birds all over Rome and everywhere you go. These are seagulls that fly in from the sea nearby. And for some reason, they really like posing for the camera. Another view of Colosseum taken from another angle. And here also you can see the labyrinth that I was talking about. Here is me posing in front of the same scene. Here we found a nice little dungeon, and I asked Jason to pose for it. You can actually opt for a guided trip, and then a guide explains you all the history and everything, and here is one. Here is a model of the intact Colosseum, as it were, which can be found outside the Colosseum, and here you can see all the levels and everything that used to be there, but now it's all broken. But this model you can appreciate. Trying to play with leading lines, and this is a really abstract composition of the wall of Colosseum. And just playing with lines and very strong contrast as such. And we then walked out of the Colosseum, and here we are outside the Colosseum again. This is Jason, Sahaj, and finally me. From here we decided to walk towards the Roman Forum, which is an obvious choice, and here we are walking towards the Roman Forum, And this is just after you enter the Roman Forum. We had to wait for a while to get our to enter here because there was a queue. So here we are in the Roman Forum, just entered.
I was saying we should go up there and you'll get your view.
Point taken.
Yeah, I think this is a stair up. You go like that and over there, huh?
Supposed to go this way. And then do
Why,
this.
like following the numbers and stuff?
Yeah, kind of.
Then you can't get your jumping pictures.
I know, right? Oh, I kind of want to live here. In one of those houses.
Like a princess again.
That joke is getting old now.
Yeah. So after walking about and climbing some stairs, we were getting higher and higher, and the view is getting better and better. There are still a lot of ways to go, but eventually we came here, where we can see this towering structures, and it's supposed to be some kind of ruin. Exactly know what it is, but the sheer scale of it was impressive.
This place is massive though. I mean, it's enormous. There are ruins all over the place.
Sahaj pointed out this nice scene where you can contrast the old with new, and so I take a picture there. And then we moved on.
Yeah, this is the Sistine Chapel.
My bad. And actually after I said it, I saw someone giving me a funny look. Actually what I meant to say is that the St. Peter's Basilica is visible over there, and that's what I wanted to say, but it came out wrong. Looking at maps, figuring out where we're actually going.
So we were on it?
Yeah.
So Rome was actually built on 7 hills, and this is one of those hills that we are on. This is called the Palatino Hill, and from here you can see the entire Roman Forum, as you will soon see. But that's where we are actually going now, and we are trying to figure out that that's actually where we are at. So here is one of the views that we got, one of the first views that we got of the Roman Forum. And here is this sort of platform from where you can actually see the entire place, which is actually quite nice.
This bird, what is that bird doing here? Why are you here? You're not supposed to be around here.
Calling over its friends.
Yeah, this situation was quite confusing. We are not at all sure why this bird was actually there and what it was doing. But it actually posed for quite nice pictures.
Shady area.
We are here taking in the view and just hanging out and taking some pictures, having some conversations and stuff.
Here.
To me, but I'm sure
Not-
you gotta see more.
Don't feel like it.
You really want to take my jumping pictures right now?
You are crazy about it.
I'm not crazy about it.
You like jumping pictures.
Okay, let's go find the other one.
The other high place?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm sure it's around.
Sahaj was theorizing that the bird is thirsty and is apparently weak or something like this. Could be true, but it was not looking very happy though, with his tongue out and everything. Looked quite stressed. Midday sun was just beating on us, so it's possible, I suppose. Anyway, we moved on from there, and then Sahaj started chasing this pigeon, and then finally we arrived to the main stage here, from where we can see the entire Roman Forum.
This is the place.
So as soon as you go to the edge of the roof here and try to look around, it really blows your mind. seeing this ancient ruin. There are all kinds of historical monuments and stuff like that here. There is one is known as Temple of Saturn and so on. I didn't know much of them, but you can see the entire Roman Forum from this spot. So after taking the panorama, it's time to do some portraits now. So I called Sahaj over and started taking portraits, and
That's great.
this photo came out hilarious, and it goes without saying why.
I got it off. I'm trying.
So what I'm trying to do here basically
Oh.
is to find a nice balance between the subject and the background. And I'm working with a 70mm 24 to 70mm lens, so I don't have a lot of zoom range, so I have to stand relatively close to Sahaj and try to find this kind of subject to background relationship.
Oh yeah.
With two people in the frame now, this proved to be quite a bit of challenge, and if space is at a premium here, but still this is the best I could do. This is not my favorite frame, but given the circumstances, there is nothing much I could do.
It's just like they're staring at us and we're just like having a conversation.
They're sitting like really close to us.
So now we're headed back from this rooftop kind of place, and now our plan is to go and have something to eat.
Okay.
Here is your door, and it's closed.
So I just noticed this door in front of which she wanted to take a jumping picture, but the door is basically chained off.
Coast is clear.
So we are discussing whether to go in or not, and in the end, she decided to brave it in.
It's gonna be like an in and out.
As she rushed in, I prepared for the shoot. Basically, what I'm trying to do here is take as many shots as possible, because the jumping
go for
thing is an instant shot. So here you can see I'm taking many frames, and one of them turns out to be the moment that you want. This is how typically this kind of photo shoots are done. You take many shots and one of them turns out to be halfway decent. So now we are heading out of the Roman Forums, and our priority is to find a place to eat. So we are here at the Roman Forums, and from here we started looking for a place to eat, but the near ones was very bad, so we started going further and further until we found one. And here's a nice picture of Sahaj at the dining table. And from there we moved on and walked a bit more to the monument to the fatherland, and from there spent a few minutes there, and again moved on to see the Pantheon. The Pantheon at this time of the day was extremely crowded, so I tried to circumvent the crowd by using a clever sort of positioning of this element, if you will. So this is not a typical Pantheon picture, but there was no choice. There were so many people that I couldn't take a decent shot, so that's what I did. From here our journey continues to the Trevi fountain. Just sat by the fountain for a few minutes because it was extremely crowded, but I could take this halfway decent photo. And then from there once again we got up and finally reached the Spanish Steps, where we spent pretty much the afternoon. Just before the sunset we got up from there, but here we are hanging out in the sun. And on the way back we saw this really golden sunlight streaming through this piazza over here. The light was so dramatic that I decided to stop and take a few pictures. By this time Sahaj and Jason were tired of me pestering them for photographs, but they were nice enough to pose anyway. After resting in the hotel a bit, we decided to go to a pub. It was Ronnie's birthday, so we were celebrating her birthday in a grand way by drinking around in Rome, and finally we decided to go to the Colosseum and have Italian wine. Colosseum looks phenomenal at night, so I had planned for coming here at night, and this gave me the opportunity to do so. So I took on the chance, and here. Day 3 in Rome, 26th of May. This day is a bit unusual because I didn't sleep last night, and that's why I'm up very early. Walking along the road here, and lo and behold, there is something very beautiful to see. The sun from behind, in this case, is scattering all this beautiful water droplets, which is very pretty. From here, we will walk up to Trevi Fountain, and it's way up in the morning, and there is no one. So I enjoyed myself here, and also found this couple who were enjoying themselves. Ask someone to take my photo, of course, which is absolutely mandatory here. Then from there, do a little bit of walk around. Found this in the morning light, which has really strong lines, and that's what I'm using here. From there, walk up to Pantheon, and there you can see Pantheon up in the distance. And in the morning here, there was virtually no one, and I had to actually wait there for a while until the Pantheon was open. And then once it was open, there was literally no one, so it was very, very good to come in the morning here, and soon I was inside the Pantheon. The Pantheon is famous for its dome structure. Actually, when I was sitting outside, I actually started reading about Pantheon, and apparently if you turn this dome upside down, it will fit perfectly inside this space over here. So that was kind of cool to know. There is a church inside here. Also, there is something else to see. This is the grave of the famous artist Raphael, and in general, the place inside is very, very cool, and the dome that everyone comes here to see is magnificent. The main catch point here is that the less people are inside here, the better off you are going to be. If you come here during the midday, this place will be crowded and full to the brim. You wouldn't be able to enjoy the magnificence of this place that much. So coming here in the morning was definitely a good idea. And after staying here for a while, taking a few pictures, I decided to call it a day and go home. On the way, I visited the altar of the fatherland just to see how it looked in the morning light, and from there slowly walked home. By day 4, actually all of Rome I have already visited. Pretty much the main spot, definitely. It took far less time than I actually anticipated. So now I have a lot of time left, in which two things can be done. Either you go to the small places, visit them, or go somewhere else. It's the latter that I chose, and I chose to go for Florence because it's really easy to go to Florence from Rome. It takes about 2 hours. You just go to the train station, buy a ticket, and hop onto the train, and there you go. So I had my breakfast or lunch and headed off for train station, and soon bought the ticket and headed for the train. So this is a super fast train. It's from Italo, that's what the train name is. So you can see it on the train there. Yeah, there. And it takes about 2 hours from Rome to Florence, and it's a really scenic journey, fairly comfortable as well. So I mounted the GoPro in front of me in the back of my front seat and onto the window, and got this nice shot, and it was really, really nice. It was difficult to capture the beauty of it because of high speed, and GoPro is not very good at taking still photos. And soon enough we landed in Florence. So Florence actually is fairly the main seeing part, the main part of Florence that you want to see is fairly small. So you take a little bit of walk from the station, and you found the Duomo, which is the main central attraction of Florence, with the red dome and everything. So this is Florence and this Duomo. I arrived here at 3 p.m. or something, and the sun is just beating on us, and but still there are lots of tourists, and this is the shot of the Duomo with a GoPro. Tried to shoot this from lots of different kinds of angles and so on, but It's really kind of difficult to give an appreciation of the place. It's really nice with the sculptures and everything. Here I shot it from a corner of the road. And next stop is Piazza della Signoria, and this is actually a very central kind of spot, if you will, for Florence, because here we have the Fountain of Neptune, which is currently covered in scaffolds over there. I could not see it, but there are pictures outside, and there are quite a few sculptures here as well, and this is one of them. This is a bronze sculpture, and there are some other sculptures. These are all from the Renaissance period. And there is the Fountain of Neptune on the left, covered in scaffolds, and on the front there are some well-known works of art. Here I was trying to shoot a copy of David by Michelangelo, which is posted there, through this paw of the lion. I have seen this some photos, and so I was just trying to replicate that angle, and it came out nicely. This is one of the busiest piazza in Florence actually, and there are lots of people, and there are always lots of foot traffic going through here, because this is, location wise, this is a very central place. From here I went to find my hostel that I booked, and on the way I found this river, and this is the central river of Florence, and the bridge that can be seen here is a very old and important bridge of Florence. So this is a view from the bridge. This bridge is famously known as the Golden Bridge, and there are a lot of jewelry shops on it. The bridge actually has 2 floors, and the second floor passage was constructed so that the Medicis can actually walk through the bridge privately. So now I am heading towards the viewpoint.
From here on out, it's a grueling climb.
Because it's on top of a hilltop, so there's a lot of climbing involved, and it was very tiring, and some waiting around to catch my breath. And on the way there is this rose garden which is very beautiful, and you can, from here you can sort of see a cityscape view of Florence, but this is not really the best place for getting a cityscape. So while I'm at it, I took some pictures of the flowers, which were really nice. I reckon this is not the best time to see the rose garden, but it was good enough. There's lots of flowers, but some of them were wilted and so on. But still, a rose garden is a rose garden. Next en route was the Church of Michelangelo, and I just peeked in to see a little bit of the view. And this is the church that is atop the hilltop where I am going, and its name is Abbazia di San Miniato al Monte. Here is the inside of the church, and when I went in, it was closing time, so the organs were playing. There is a lack of light inside this place, so I tried to shoot some kind of cool backlight eagle composition, and then I moved outside. From here you can get a breathtaking view of Florence, and I ran into I can't pronounce her name right, but we had a lovely discussion over photography, and I was trying to show her how to take these shots, and she took some of my shots and I took some of her shots. It was really lovely, but unfortunately she had to leave a bit early than sunset, and so then I sat here and recorded the sun going down below the horizon, which was beautiful. So essentially this has to be the best sunset in my Rome trip. This sunset was just beautiful sunset wise, and I called my mom while I was at it. After the sun went down, I still was sitting there for a while to get the blue hour shots. Whenever you shoot sunset, the rule of thumb is you start before the sunset when there is still yellow light, and you shoot through the golden hour, shoot through the blue hour, and when the light is completely gone and you have total darkness, you come back. So I got some of the night city shots as well. And then I came back, and on my way back I saw this nice reflection, and I decided to call it a day. So the next morning I woke up and headed to the Piazza del Signoria, and partly because this is a fascinating place to people watch, and there are lots of shops around to get my breakfast, which I did, and partly because I was very tired because I didn't get a very good sleep because the hostel was pretty pathetic. So I sat here and basically just watched people, and it's a fun experience for sure because this place is crowded to the brim, and it's very nice. The only thing that I didn't like is this guy over here who started smoking weed of some kind. I believe just the stench was horrible. So Florence actually has the vibe of Renaissance about it. You can see lots of old things all around the city, even the doorways, and even there are torch cones which used to hold torches, and there are lots of, and you get an ancient feeling about the entire city. And in this piazza you can feel it even more, and all of these tourists passing by gives a really valiant feeling of what Florence is like, especially in the city. Basically, if you go to Florence, you have to be here. And there are these kind of weddings and things like this going on. So you hear some kind of wedding was going on, some kind of celebration was going on. That was fantastic to watch, and I did have a ticket to visit the famous museum that is at Florence. This is one of the most famous art museums in all over the world. Uh, it's this Uffizi museum, Uffizi gallery, and so next I headed there. So I'm not going to attempt to explain what all the arts mean, but this time I did learned and did took a audio guide, and that helped a lot in understanding what these arts actually mean and trying to convey. So in these earlier paintings we see a lot of golden color used. The paintings are gold, and they're always about some religious aspect. Humanitarian paintings were not painted around that time. This is pre-Renaissance paintings, the early ones that I have shown so far. If we move forward in time and look as the things progressed, we will see that that tone fades away, and more humanitarian works are springing up. These are the Renaissance painting, and this is one of the characteristics of the Renaissance painting, that instead of golden. So in the morning I woke up a bit late, and the only goal of this day was to visit the basilica, and that's it. So I walked up there and found this extremely long line in the daring sun. But anyway, I walked through it and eventually was in the basilica. This is mind-blowing. This is just something you have to see to even get a hint of what it is like. So I actually went to the top of the basilica. You can climb through there, and this is a very narrow sort of staircase that you have to climb, and it's a long climb. So and it takes a while to get there. So I did, and eventually you are greeted with this panoramic view of Rome. This is by far one of the best places to get a panoramic view of Rome, and you can see this the St. Peter's Square, which is also quite amazing. So from up here you can actually see tiny people walking about down below, which reminded me of a saying that when you climb atop the monument, the people seem like ants. Anyway, so I asked someone to take my photograph, which didn't come out very nice, but still it's as good as I can get. When I came back down into the church, there are prayers going on, and this has been a very touching experience in my Rome trip. The entire environment of the church, with so many people singing the Lord's name and everything, it had a certain presence about it. And here is the Apostles' Creed being sung. That was actually the end of the trip. I went to the airport, got a flight, and before you know it, I was home.